Hey, it's Trev. This is my second video since first putting my face on YouTube, and I decided I don't like my face. So today I'm going to talk over some pictures, maps, and a video of a walk I did back in October. This walk was my first trial at recording a walk on a GoPro. I knew this was something I wanted to do for a really long time, but this was like proof of concept. At least part of it. Making the YouTube video is the other part. Considering that it seems to have gone well, maybe I can do more walks like this in 2024. It was also important that I recorded this walk because I was documenting a rapid transit line in Toronto known as Line 3, otherwise known as the Scarborough RT. Now the RT shut down in July 2023 after one of the trains derailed. It was supposed to keep running until November that year, but this thing was already running on its last legs. I won't get into too detailed history. The short version is it uses a very unique technology that was forced on the city by the provincial government 40 years ago. And then over the last decade, there have been all sorts of political fights about whether to refurbish this thing and then extend it further, or completely replace it with a subway. The subway ended up winning out, but this thing continued to rot away while the politicians were duking it out. The cause of this accident, like any other well-investigated public incident, lists a number of factors. But basically, some bolts failed, and magnets on the train caused the metal to fly up into the bottom of the vehicle, and that knocked it off the tracks. I'll link to the reports if you want to dig deeper. So luckily no one got seriously hurt in this accident, but now we're left with this empty right away. So my goal was to capture it in a raw state before something, if anything, happens to it, whether it's making it a busway or something else. The RT started at Kennedy Station. Kennedy is a major hub. You got Line 2, the Bloor Danforth subway, you got GO trains, and one day you'll have Line 5, the Eglinton Crosstown stopping here. Someday. There's chatter about it maybe opening in the fall of 2024, but I'm not holding my breath. Now, Kennedy isn't just a transit hub. It's also an intersection of neighborhoods, roads, a hydro corridor, and a trail. So I started my walk in the hydro corridor, right parallel to the RT, which itself is parallel to the Stouffville GO line. It's pretty nice. You got some coniferous trees off to the side, but not too much else is very notable until you get to this bridge that lets people on foot or on bike or what have you get over the corridors. And standing on this bridge looking over, this was the first moment of sadness for me. I've been here a few times before, and you're used to seeing RT trains running up and down here. And now, there was nothing. It was quiet. It was empty. The only thing you could hear is the dull roar of the city and the crackle of the hydro lines up above. This was a major piece of transit, of infrastructure, that thousands of people spent their lives building, driving on, or even just riding it. And now it was swiftly ended because of this accident. Now an average person might just look at that and kind of go, But I'm a huge nerd about this stuff, about city life and infrastructure, so for me it was a bit of a gut punch. Anyway, I continued along the west side of the corridor through what's known as the Gatineau Hydro Corridor. This is also known as the Meadowway because the city and the local conservation authority have been working together to take this long stretch of hydro corridor with a bunch of grass under it that they would continually cut and make it into a proper meadow habitat for all sorts of bugs and critters. And while they were at it, they'd put a trail through it for anyone looking for a nice walk or bike ride, maybe to commute to work or school, or just for a stroll to the corner store, what have you. This is something you could probably do south of here where I started my walk, and frankly, all hydro corridors in Toronto and other southern Ontario cities, maybe across Canada. The trail in this section of the Meadowway hasn't been completed, and while it would make a great connection to where I came from, this bridge is not a very direct link. Traveling over means going through this neighborhood or diverting along Lawrence and Kennedy. It'd be better to have a more direct bridge or tunnel right here. Alternatively, you could just run a trail to the existing bridge right along the tracks here. But that's still a bit of a detour, and whether or not Metrolinx is going to be on board with that? Who knows? Now here's another poor connection. I couldn't continue directly north of here. There's no straight line connection from the Middleway to Lawrence. You had to go around. So I did that, and you could see the shuttle buses running up and down here along the dedicated bus lanes. After weaving through a couple side streets, you get to Lawrence Station. Again, infrastructure gut punch. There used to be buses and trains and people coming and going. And now it was Deadsville. Now, important context here. This isn't Kennedy. There's no existing or future rapid transit lines through here. GO trains don't stop here either. And again, there's no trail connection, even though there should be. And I was actually surprised to discover there is a TTC worker in the booth. I had a brief chat with him, and he explained that him and his colleagues would be still working the stations until the original mid-November shutdown date, so that they could direct anyone who didn't get the memo on the accident and the RT shutting down, and let people fill their fare cards. And then he looks at me. He looks at the GoPro on my shoulder and points to it and says, "Are you a YouTuber?" And it took me aback. I needed a second to recover because no one had ever said that phrase to me. I had to think about it, but, well, yeah, I guess that's what I am now. I took the tunnel under the tracks. After coming out of the tunnel, the walk got a little difficult. North of the station, there's no direct connection to the side streets, so I had to scale the bank of this creek. It's more of a drain at this point. It is the Dorset branch of West Highland Creek. The names of Highland Creek and all its tributaries should be its own video, but I'm not going to open that can of worms today. So after hopping up and down this really steep bank, I got through, but man, it was tough. Was it worth saving 275 meters of walking? Probably not. But if there's a huge gap or missing connection in your walking network, you bet I'm going to show it. That's kind of my shtick. After that, it was a long walk up this industrial road until you get to Ellesmere Station. Now, same story as Lawrence here. It was open to the public, but it was dead. But it makes sense when it was the least used station in the whole rapid transit network. There was a tunnel under the tracks again, so I went through there, and then I climbed up on the Ellesmere Road overpass. This gives you a good look at where things split ways. The RT goes down into a tunnel, under the GO tracks, and then heads east towards Scarborough Centre. So I continued following that, and I would come back to the GO line later. After coming out of the tunnel, the RT gets elevated, and rises on this guideway parallel to West Highland Creek. Now, I can't walk on the tracks, so I actually had to get here by taking the streets over to Midland Station, and then hop down into the creek, into the concrete channel that contains it. So I got a good look at the underside of the guideway here. It's pretty cool. And then I doubled back along the water's edge. And as cool as the underside of the guideway is, past Midland, for some reason, the TTC has long fenced it off, along with a strip of land beside it. Even though it's right next to a creek. I don't understand why. It's a huge missed opportunity for Parkland. Now that the RT's shut down, maybe we can have that conversation. After that, it was another long push to get south along the creek back to Ellesmere Road. Walked east some more, and then you get to Brimley. And here, you can easily get under the guideway. It's easily accessible from the roads and adjacent parking lots. But again, for some reason, you can't do that to the west. It makes no sense to me. Anyway, the guideway forms part of the urban fabric in Scarborough Town Centre. Again, the nerd in me got another punch to the gut. RT riders would have this really unique view of their neighborhood up on the guideway, riding the train 5 or 10 meters up. And now they can't do that anymore. Snaking through Albert Campbell Square leads you to Scarborough Centre Station. In contrast to the last 3 stations, it was absolutely bustling through here. Part of that is because it's actually the entrance to the huge mall there, but the other part is it's still acting as a major bus hub, not only for the express buses that are running in place of the RT, but other TTC buses as well as GO buses to and from North York and other parts of the GTA. Past here, the guideway continues flying over roads and parking lots, and then it comes to McCowan. This is around where the Scarborough subway extension, the Line 2 extension, will make a stop to serve Scarborough Town Centre. But this was the last station for the RT. The guideway continues east for a little bit before coming to the Maintenance and Storage Yard, or MSF. I was able to get a couple shots over the fence and through a little hole in the noise wall, but the MSF is the final resting place for these cars in Toronto. I heard that Detroit is looking to buy them for their people mover in their downtown. The TTC is keeping 2 of the train sets. To cap off this part of the walk, I tried to get a gander along the right-of-way off of Bellamy Road, but there was nothing to see. So with that, I hoofed it all the way back west to follow the GO line again. Much of this line isn't very accessible. It's tucked in behind all sorts of private property, and it also has to get under the 401. North of the 401 is a really cool point, at least to me. It's a triple crossing, so you have West Highland Creek on the bottom, and then you have GO Transit's Stouffville line going over that, and then you have CPKC's freight line at the same time flying overhead. I took this shot in June 2018 when I was following West Highland Creek. I managed to snap it while standing in the creek channel. It's one of my favorite shots in Toronto for sure. North of that is Agincourt Station, and it's recently been redone. Actually, you may have noticed there's a lot of work going on along the whole corridor. Metrolinx has been working hard to double track the entire thing and upgrade all the stations so they can be running GO trains every 15 minutes between Toronto and Markham. I saw a few on the walk. They were running every hour despite the construction, and it was a Sunday too. 10 years ago, you would only get that kind of off-peak frequency on the lakeshore lines. It's crazy how much the network has changed. At this point, there wasn't much else to see, because the line is wedged between backyards, so you only get a couple peeks at it at some road crossings. Also, I had been out for 6 hours, and I was starting to suffer from heat exhaustion. It may have been the first day of October, but it hit a humidex at 30 degrees. So I stopped at a store to get a cold drink and kind of recover. And eventually, I turned off the GoPro because I was just feeling miserable. But my final stop was at Milliken Go, which was also undergoing upgrades. They actually grade separated Steeles Avenue here, in conjunction with the station upgrade. It had originally been a level crossing, which was already pretty bonkers given how busy of a road it is. Now it's an underpass, and you can walk over the road from the north side to the platforms on the south side. So that was pretty cool, and I didn't have to wait too long to catch a train back to where I started the walk. And that wraps it up. So I hope you liked the video, and I hope to make more videos in this format in 2024. This has been Trev exploring Metroscapes. Take care. Ciao.